Hey, welcome back. It's David with Brand Rocket. We are continuing our series for cardiology, Google Ads for Cardiology. And this particular video, we're going to talk about knowing your goals. So really, really important stuff. We're going to get into more of the details later, but we have to talk about certain topics up front because a lot of times they're skipped over. Okay, so knowing your goals is really important. You would never venture off. If you're planning a trip, you would just normally not venture off in any direction unless you are completely whimsical and capricious. But most of the time, you need to know where you're going, right? It's really, really important when it comes to Google Ads. And quite frankly, if you were to follow the prompts of Google Ads and set this up yourself, you would most likely, I would say 95% of the time, end up with a campaign structure that is rudderless. There is no goals whatsoever. In fact, Google wants it that way. They will steer you through creating campaigns that a lot of times have broad match keywords. In fact, pretty much all the time have broad match keywords. And the targeting is not where it needs to be, and the structure is not where it needs to be. And there's zero forethought about what do you actually want to accomplish with Google Ads. Okay, so it's really, really important to do this. If you spend that time up front, understanding your goals and structuring campaigns properly, then you're going to be way ahead of the competition. So goals can mean a lot of different things. It could be we want to generate some leads. We want quality leads coming into the practice on a regular basis. It could be, hey, we already have Google Ads. It's structured to a certain extent, but we know it's not performing at the level that we need to, and we need to improve our return on investment for the ad spend. It could be, we have multiple locations and we just need to get the word out. We want to get more branding, more ad impressions. We want people to think, and when it comes to cardiology, any of the services within cardiology, we want everybody in our market area to think of us first. And that would be more of a branding play. That's more akin to television commercials or billboards and things of that nature, which Google has built in, right? You could also run Google Ads to increase your website traffic. Maybe you just want more people going to your website and reading about the different services, maybe downloading some materials, educational resources. In fact, that's one of the bullet points here. Download educational resources. So if you have guides, if you have anything that's where somebody has to go to your website, maybe they put a name and a phone number, name, email, maybe even a phone number. And then they click, get the guide. Then all of a sudden they're on a list and some kind of a nurture email list where you're sending out emails over a certain amount of time that has value and it's very relevant to what they're looking for. Okay, so that could be a goal as well. Another goal could be driving location visits. So that's actually a conversion action in Google Ads once you've run your account for a while, where you can actually measure how many times when somebody looks at an ad, engages with an ad, do they actually come to your practice? And Google is able to measure that because, a lot of times we have a phone in our pocket, right? It's basically an appendage. It's part of who we are these days. Pretty much everybody has a smartphone, right? So there's different ways to measure that, but we're going back to knowing your goals. And I can't tell you how many times I've done audits where the goals are not predefined, the campaigns are not structured properly, and it's just all over the place. And unfortunately, wasting a lot of precious ad dollars. Okay, so knowing your goals is really, really important. And we're going to step back and just talk about how do people actually buy. This is the audience awareness funnel. Okay, and this pretty much applies for all these. It can apply to different services, different products, but this is really how it works. There's different stages of awareness. So it starts at the top where somebody is completely unaware that a product or service exists, right? Now, I think most people know that cardiologists exist, but they might not know about specific services that are available that could help them for whatever they're struggling with. So there are different ways to be able to run ads to that particular mental state where somebody is completely unaware And those would be, ads that are possibly videos through the YouTube network. They could be display ads. They could be a combination of all of the above, maybe through the Performance Max campaign. It could be a lot of different things. Then we have problem aware, where somebody's like, oh my gosh, something's going on here. Why am I so winded all the time, for example? Or they're solution aware, right? So they know there's a solution or solutions out there, but they don't know which one to choose to solve their problem. Service aware, so very specific services. If they're very tuned in to what's available in the marketplace, they might be doing some more detailed searches that are related to the services you provide. And then most aware is really the holy grail. It's like, okay, they know your practice. They know maybe some of the cardiologists in your practice, and they're searching for names. They're searching for the name of your practice. All right. So this is the awareness funnel. So let's take a look at how this actually works as it connects with Google Ads. Okay. Again, how people buy, audience awareness funnel. Prospect does not know they have a problem. Prospect's aware of the problem, doesn't know how to solve it, doesn't know the solutions. Solution aware, prospects knows about the solutions, but hasn't chosen one. Service aware, they know about the solution, but they're not totally convinced that yours is the best. And then most aware, they know a lot. They know a lot about your service in this case, or your practice, or the doctors that work at your practice. Okay, so again, we're trying to get down here most of the time. In fact, there's different ways that people search depending on where they are in that journey from unaware to most aware. And here's some examples. So unaware could be somebody searching for stress and heart health. Okay. Could be anything. We don't know if they're looking for a specialist or something that can help them that's available at your practice. We have no idea. We're not there yet, right? Problem aware. Shortness of breath while I'm walking. So they could be searching that way. Solution aware. Now, all of a sudden, we're getting more detailed. Heart disease treatment options. Service aware. Now we're getting even more defined. Cardiologist near me. Best cardiologist in whatever your city name is. Most aware. Your practice name reviews or actual doctor names, there's a lot of different ways that you can slice and dice that. But most aware is what we call bottom of funnel. And that is really the bread and butter of Google Ads. If you think about the way Google Ads works, a lot of it is search-based, but Google Ads is way, way more than that. So they have the display network that I think goes out to like 95% of the internet. They've got YouTube, and they've got a lot of different types of campaigns that are far-reaching into, for example, Gmail, the Discover network. There's a whole bunch of them out there. So what we do here is we want to translate these awareness levels into marketing goals. Okay. So at the unaware stage, we want to create awareness. So direct correlation, right? If somebody's unaware, let's create awareness. If somebody's problem aware or solution aware, we want to drive interest. If they're service aware, we want to influence a decision that steers them in the direction of the service that we're providing. And then most aware, we want to compel action. They're ready to make a decision. We want to get them into the practice as quickly as possible. Now, how does this align with what Google has in terms of like these different channels? At the awareness stage, where we're trying to drive awareness, we have the display network. Again, goes out to something like 92 to 95% of the entire internet. So those display ads are everywhere, and I'm sure you've seen them. We have YouTube, where we can do videos, educational videos, introductory videos for service offerings. At the interest level, we start dipping our toes into search, right? There's different types of searches, which I just talked about, that correlate with this particular level of interest. And then, of course, YouTube still applies, the Discover network, Gmail snaps in. And then down here, where somebody's at the decision-making stage, where we're trying to influence a decision, again, we're getting more granular with the searches. Maybe now we're showing up in the maps when somebody's doing a search on the maps to make sure that your practice is showing up on the maps. And then action aware At the very bottom of the funnel is where we are, again, getting really, really super targeted with the search and by extension, the maps. Okay. Now we're going to get into all of this stuff in future videos, but there's a way that we actually slice and dice all those different awareness stages, and we start at the bottom of the funnel. And what's really, really powerful about Google Ads is when you start at the bottom of the funnel and you are attracting those high commercial intent searches, you can start seeding your campaigns with signals, those success signals that we talked about in the video about conversion tracking, conversion measurement. You start seeding the algorithm with real signals that signify value to your practice. And you can start using those signals to walk backwards, walk up through the funnel, and start using different types of campaign types to, again, start to deploy campaign types that have broader reach. And that's where you get into the magic of Google Ads scaling. So you start very small and then work your way backwards. Okay. So we're going to get into all that stuff. It's really, really interesting, actually, for sure. So I'm looking forward to talking to you about that in an upcoming video. Again, I say this every time. If you need help, just reach out. We do this stuff all day long. We can structure these campaigns exactly how they need to be structured. We can help you identify your goals and figure out really a guide, or really your own compass, right? So your own compass as to once we know where you want to go, what do we need to do to set that course? And we develop a plan, actually, about the campaigns that we're going to launch to help you get to where you need to be. But it always starts with goals first, and then we structure and we work our way backwards. And then again, most of the time, starting at the bottom of the funnel, working our way up as we're expanding and scaling and bringing higher quality leads on a more higher volume basis to your practice so you can grow and expand. All right. So that's the video on knowing your goals. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. All right. Thank you.